Welcome to the Real Life Momz podcast. It is time to take a break from all our to-dos and carve out this time to focus on yourself. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with fellow mom, grief coach, author, and founder of the Flow Grief Academy, Denise Dielwart. Denise is here to help us regain life after loss using a unique flow method. Hi, Denise. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to moms about grief. It's such an important subject that we don't look at. And when it does hit a mom, it's exceptionally hard.
And I am so glad to have you because I've been podcasting for about 3 years now, and I have never touched this topic. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I almost wonder if I didn't touch it because it's hard to talk about. But I really like that you have helped yourself by creating a method, but also have helped so many other people. And not just to cope with it, but just also to transform their life. So I love you to tell your background story a little bit about why you developed this method and kind of what brought you to it.
Absolutely. So my husband passed away really suddenly in 2009. He basically went to work and had a blood clot. So it was, kissed him goodbye for work and he never came home. So he was young. He was only 55 and I was 51. At that stage, my kids had all moved out because I had my kids young and they had their kids young. So they had all moved out into their own homes and I had eight grandsons. I've got nine now, eight grandsons, all ranging from the ages of 3 up to about 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the 3-year-old never got to know granddad. The others have a faint memory of him. The older boys now, when we talk about granddad, they remember all the things that he used to do and the funny things and how he used to make them eat the vegetables and things like that. But the younger ones have a very faint memory. So it's really important to keep that memory alive. But that's what started me on my journey, is that I went for counseling, I went for therapy, I did all the stuff that everybody tells you to do. Everybody's got fantastic advice. Really, it's like go and see a counselor. You're not coping. So that's what I did. I went and saw a counselor, and she told me, oh, I'm going to be like this for the next 5 to 7 years because grief takes time and you have to wait for time and you have to go through the 5 stages of grief and it's a long, long, long journey. And I sort of kind of accepted that. And then after about 6 months of in this treadmill of not being able to break out or feeling any better, I challenged her and I said to her in one of our sessions, I said, when am I going to start feeling better? And that's when she said, oh, you're just trying to push it. You can't do it too fast. You can't heal grief like that. And that was my that was my that's it. I'm done. I've got to find something else to do. I can't keep going on like this.
Mm-hmm.
I was 51, so I was still pretty young.
Yeah.
My kids had just lost their father. My grandkids had lost their granddad. And I knew that I had to heal me so that I could help them in their journey as well. I didn't want them to see me crying. I didn't want them to see me upset because obviously we hide those feelings. And that's where my journey began. I thought, you know what? I've got a whole new life ahead of me. I'm going to become a life coach. I'm so broken, but I'm going to become a life coach. It was hilarious. And I did. I became a life coach. I did all the NLPs, all the hypnosis training, all of that to help me. I was never going to help people in grief, ever. Because my previous life, I was a bookkeeper and a tax agent. So my natural progression from the life coaching was to become a business coach and help people in businesses. I knew what a profit and loss looked like. I knew how to help you grow your business. I could do that in my sleep. But if the universe had other ideas. Every CEO that I spoke to, every manager, they said to me, Denise, why are you in business? You have healed yourself so well. Why aren't you working with people in grief? And I, of course, pushed that back. I'm not doing that. No, 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 no. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I'm not doing that anymore. Not going to do that. And here I am 15 years later, working with people in grief because we have to heal ourselves. Grief doesn't ever, ever heal. We're coming up to the Christmas period now, the holiday season. which is a really, really tough season because you don't have that person with you. Now, we can either go, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to be terrible, or we can celebrate their life. So my mission with what I do now is to help and educate as many people that have lost a loved one that grief is not a life sentence. It's a new beginning and it's a new journey. I'll just tack on to that very quickly. What's grown out of that now is the Flow Grief Release Practitioner certification that I'm opening up. So I'm teaching others that have experienced loss the tools to heal and help others by becoming a certified practitioner.
Yeah. So it's just this big ripple effect.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
great.
yeah.
So, okay. So you created kind of your own method called the flow method, right? And it has about 4 steps in it. Can you talk us through these steps?
Yeah. So what happens when we when we lose somebody, especially as a mother, and I say that with my hand on my heart, is we internalize everything because we don't want to hurt or let our other loved ones, whether it's our husband or our children or whoever, see that we're hurting because we have to be the strong one. We're the mother. We are the strong ones, right? And so we've been conditioned to do that as well. The very first step in the flow method is to feel. I reverse engineered how I healed myself, and that's how the flow method was born. So what did I do first? I had to give myself permission to go down that grief pit, to go down into the shadows of grief and feel, really feel that pain. Not just feel like crying or feeling sad. That's the surface. We all feel sad, we all feel lost, we all feel lonely. That's just the surface. But what emotions are beneath that surface? What are you truly feeling? I remember I used to lock myself in my walk-in robe, my walk-in closet, and in the dark with my little poodle Lulu, and I used to just rock in a fetal position. And one day I let out this guttural scream from the pit of my stomach, and I actually, oh my goodness, is that me? I couldn't believe that this noise was coming from me. Well, it was the first time I actually released and felt my pain.
Which I imagine is so difficult because, it's a hard place to go there and
Oh, we don't
feel
want,
that pain when you're in so much pain from your loss.
yeah, we don't want to go there because we're already in pain, as you say. We're in pain. It's too painful to go there. Why would I want to put myself through that again? And feeling is not reliving the story over and over again on that one moment of time when they passed away. It's not that. That's not feeling. Feeling is feeling that emotion. What am I feeling now? And sometimes it's hard to actually verbalize that feeling. Sometimes we can't even verbalize it. We just know. But it's important to feel. It
Yeah.
really is important to feel. Because the L is for letting go. So if we quite don't feel, we cannot let go of that pain. The letting go is not letting go of the memories, letting go of the love, letting go of the life we had together. It's letting go of the pain, letting go of that emotion that's stopping you from overcoming. Because that's the overcoming. Because once we let go, we can now start our new journey. We can start the overcoming.
Okay.
Because we know what we're feeling. We know that we've let go of that. It's like, oh, okay, I've let go of that. But then that leaves an empty space. And we have to fill that empty space.
Yeah.
And that's when we overcome and become whole. That's when we start reimagining. Now we've got the tools, we know what to do, we can start reimagining a new life.
So I like that flow. So F is feel, is L let go. Is that right? O is overcome, and is the W become whole?
Whole.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that.
And it happens in layers. So an emotion will come up and then you'll go, oh, I'm feeling this, oh, I'm going down, and you'll let it go and you'll go, oh, okay, this is what it is, whatever it is. Where did that come from? And then, okay, I'm overcoming, I'm letting go, I'm becoming whole, this is what I'm going to do. And then you go gaily along and suddenly, boom, another one comes. Because you've now created a bigger space for yourself. So you're growing. It's not being stagnant. We're not talking about our grief. And this is where traditional therapy is great for the initial stages. When you need to talk to somebody, you need to get it out, how you're feeling. But there comes a time where you need to go, okay, what's next? I have clients that have been 5, 6 years in therapy. Why? Why are you sitting there in 5 years of therapy if it didn't work the first time? But they've seen 5 or 6 therapists, not realizing that they all work in the same modality. It's talk therapy. We can't talk our way out of grief. We have to take action.
So, what are some techniques to be able to let it go?
Let it go. So the first thing is to recognize, okay, who am I being right now?
Mhm.
Not what am I doing, who am I being, and what am I letting go of? That's the first. First, breathing is huge. Deep breath into that feeling so that you can let go of whatever's coming up. And like I said, sometimes we can't even verbalize it. We don't even know what's coming up. We just know that there's stuff coming up, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Breathe through it. Just sit there, meditate. Now, meditation doesn't have to be put on YouTube or put on a meditation can be sitting and just watching the ocean, going to a
Mhm.
park and just sitting and watching kids play, whatever it is for you, but just meditate and empty the mind. And then you feel lighter, but you still don't know exactly what did I let go of.
Mhm.
And that's okay. You don't need to know what did I let go of, when did I let it go, how did I let it go. We don't need to know all of that stuff.
I know sometimes like the body just holds on to things,
Yeah.
right? It's like you've talked about it, but you still feel it. So I get it. And the body just holds on to things. So like that breath, that breathing and just getting it out of your actual body is also a component of letting it go. That's kind of what you're
Yeah.
doing with that breath work. So that's
Yeah.
really helpful. Now, when you were going through this, like if someone were to give you a nugget of advice back then, what would you wish you would have heard that you would have known that maybe moms can know now?
It's okay to scream. It's okay to have a bad day.
Mm.
I got a nugget of advice, and God bless him, he's since passed away, of an old school friend of mine in South Africa, because I'm originally from South Africa. So, and Gav said to me, when you're driving and you're on your own in the car, scream at the steering wheel. You got to get that energy out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the best advice that I got ever. And I still do it to this day, 15 years later, when I get really like, when you can feel the energy building, I'll just scream at the car, in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mother, you've got so many responsibilities, and especially a mother of young children. You're looking after family, you're looking after the husband. The husband's grieving differently to the wife. The kids are all grieving differently. There could be tension in the family as well, because you grieving your way as a mother. So 9 times out of 10 internalizing it, not showing our emotions. The husband is working and he's busy as well, so he's doing his thing. He's not showing emotions, and then I see it so often. Then the wife, the mother goes, "Well, you don't care about the child we just lost." Sees it that way, that you don't care because you're just continuing with work. Meantime, he's dying inside, but he doesn't want to hurt her or the kids either. So it's this constant revolving door of nobody really wants to show their emotions. And that's the first step, is to feel them as a family, as a unit. Wait, sit down. What are you feeling? How are you feeling? And very often they don't want to say anything. But as a mother, I always say, Mum, you start first. This is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Because it can be, I can see how you can like isolate yourself so much, even if it's like something the whole family is grieving
Yeah.
about. Because yeah, everyone's just trying to, I guess, process and stay strong in their own way and could be able to like continue on. It's almost like that, oh, overcome and whole, but like nobody gets to the overcome and whole because they're just trying to like survive, right? Just trying to go day by day. And it's very isolating. And yeah, so I do love the screaming method. And I'm gonna say I not even just grieve, I use the screaming method in my car. It's such a lovely place, especially if you're in your garage, because sometimes I'll do it before I leave. Because I do feel like I scream pretty loud that people like walking past me could hear me. And I don't necessarily want that. But I will do that when I just get to a point of just boiling overwhelm in the house, especially when the kids were little. Oh yeah, and I would scream because I remember that from like my college days where we used to have midnight scream. Even in the pandemic, we had something called midnight
Yeah,
yell, and everybody would yell, and it's an amazing release because yeah, you just get it out, and then you feel kind of like a little shaky after, and then so you calm down, and by the time you can drive off, it feels good, and yeah, you're alone. I love that. So I
yeah.
definitely love that method, but. Yeah, I like that if, especially if it's not just you and it is a whole family event, bringing it up, like you said, like, let's talk about it. I mean, are there like little things like a mom could bring up to their family if they're going through this as a family? Maybe they lost a spouse or unfortunately like a child or somebody or grandparent that really affects the unit. Is there like a question that you can just put out there that the family can just kind of talk about?
The first thing is to start talking about the person you've lost.
Yeah, yeah.
What society does is with my husband, I've got a beautiful lady that's now a certified flow grief release practitioner. She lost her daughter while her daughter was away at school. So she wasn't with Naomi. She just got the call that her teenage daughter had passed away at school. Nobody wanted to speak about Naomi. Nobody wanted to speak about her. It's the same as me when Martin passed away, my husband. Nobody wanted to
Mhm.
speak about him. Even my kids, I didn't want to speak about dad. My eldest daughter, Mum, I don't want to speak about dad now. I'm not ready yet. And that's normal and natural deflection of grief because it's not wanting to feel that pain. So if I take my eldest daughter, she was never ready to speak about dad. She is now, but in the initial stages. Whereas my youngest daughter had pictures up everywhere on the walls with him. She had blown up canvases. So the complete opposite of how they grieved. So there's no sort of way that you can sit down and say, okay, this is the structure, this is how we're going to do it. Is
Mm.
to just really bring up the fun things that person. Do you remember when, like Martin was one that would sit on a chair, and being in Australia, we'd have like 100-degree heat. And those old plastic garden chairs, he once sat on one of those chairs, and with the heat, the legs just did that.
Mm.
And we were in a conference, and of course, in the middle of the conference, it just went "Gwah!" and bits of chairs fell everywhere, and he ended up on the floor.
Oh,
It was really comical because we just looked at him and the kids laughed. We were all there together. I said, "Do you remember the time Dad fell off that plastic chair?" And that opens up that conversation
yeah, yeah.
and starts them talking about and reminiscing the good things because we don't want to focus on the death, on the time that they died, because that's what talk therapy does is how you're feeling. I know it's tough, it's not easy. We all know that, but let's focus on moving forward, draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, they lived. We are living their legacy.
It feels like so much nicer to talk about just the memories. And I always like when I hear there are certain traditions and certain cultures that like, it's just like the funeral is like a celebration, right? Which, could be feel weird for some, but I always like am inspired by that because it feels like they're so happy and they're really celebrating the person and they are talking about stories and it's just such a nice way to remember them and now talking to you also realizing that is kind of very therapeutic to
Yeah,
do together
yeah,
versus just feeling sad. I mean, I remember my own dad's funeral and it was like we didn't talk very much. It was just kind of like, this is what we do. And, this is the next step. And like, it didn't feel like a big conversation about like just his life and
yeah,
to celebrate his life would have been really
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We had after Martin's funeral, we had I lived up in acreage at the time on 8 acres, and Martin loved a fire. So after the funeral, whoever came back to the house, we had his favorite beer and we had a massive bonfire.
Nice.
And that was the celebration. We played all his music and everything like that as well. So it's really important to celebrate their life. And it's not just, oh, you were having a celebration of life. It's to really celebrate that they loved you, you loved them, and they came into your life for a reason.
Hmm.
Even with a child, even with a tiny little baby. And there's a lot of mothers that lose a baby at 2, 3 weeks. And they go, why? Why? That child came into your life to bring you love, to bring you joy. And it's to celebrate that little glimpse of life that you had with them. But it's important for everybody around so that you, and I hate to say this, the mother is the universe of the family. Mother breaks down, the mother cries, the mother disappears, the whole family breaks down, cries, and disappears. And that's why in grief, when we lose somebody, whether it's a child, whether it's a parent, whether it's a husband, we as mothers and women, we become stoic. We soldier on because we have to be strong for everybody else. I did that. I did that. That was my natural thing. Okay, have to be strong, have to be here for the kids and the grandkids and show no emotion.
So how do we actually get past that? Because that is a big mother role, like in anything, whether it's grief or, your day-to-day life, just keeping it together, right? If mom's happy, everyone's happy. I mean, like that, it's a saying for a reason.
Yeah.
But how in a time of whether, it's loss, grief, stress, like how can we still like feel like we can keep the unit together but still be feeling our own emotions and not allowing everything to just kind of fall apart? Because I think that's part of it, right? We feel like if we drop a ball and break down, that everything else is going to come tumbling down on us as well.
It's to start loving ourselves. And I know it's such a cliche, love yourself and then you can love everybody else. I love it when I hear that. People say that it's such a cliche. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. But what is self-love? It's not just going to have a hot, fluffy bath. That's not self-love. Self-love is putting yourself first, your needs first. As a woman, as a mother, it's your needs first. What do I need right now? And not dismissing them, not saying, oh, I haven't got time, I've got to go to kids, I've got to do this. If you're having a busy day and you're having a down day and you just want to sit in your pajamas all day and you don't want to take the kids to school, don't feel guilty about it. It's okay because we keep ourselves busy. I'll just keep doing this. And then eventually that busyness stops. And that's why we fall apart maybe 5, 6 years later. It's that grief bubbles, that loss bubbles beneath the surface. It doesn't go away. We just keep masking it with busyness, with being there for self-pleasing, self-doing for other people, people pleasers. Oh, what do you need? Do you need this? Do you need? I'll do it.
Yeah, when you keep busy, I mean, it masks having to actually feel what you're feeling. And yeah,
Totally.
so if you keep going, then you don't have to sit with yourself. It's kind of like distraction. And then what I'm hearing, and really it's coming clear, is like this isn't just about grief. It's like by prioritizing yourself now, right, and making these healthy choices to really honor yourself, feel, love yourself, then when and if something happens down the line, you're already prepared. You're already stronger because you already have that foundation of taking care of you.
I remember one of my widowed clients said to me, why don't they teach this stuff in school?
Don't get me started. Why don't they teach half the stuff in school that you can actually use, right? Besides multiplication, division, whatever. Like, I mean, honestly, there's calculators for that, people, right? Like, this is the stuff we need to learn.
Yeah, totally need to learn. And then I had another lady who said to me, she said, do you know that if I had done this before I met my husband, I would never have married him?
True, right? I mean, but true. Like for a
Yeah,
lot of situations, if
yeah,
you can love yourself and prioritize yourself, a lot of things in your life would look much differently.
much different. Now, a lot of couples, when they lose a child, the marriage falls apart. Now, there's two reasons for that. The first reason is they should never have been together in the first place. And the loss is actually putting a magnifying glass over their relationship. And the other one is that they don't understand each other's grieving. They expect each other to grieve the same. So it's so important to do the inner work on yourself, not on anybody else in the family, but on yourself, within yourself. Do the inner work. Who am I? What drives me? What do I want? What am I, where am I? Who am I being? Why am I feeling like this today? What triggered it? I uncovered a belief, a real deep limiting belief with my mum. Always, I did ballet and I did music and all the stuff that you do as a kid. And my mum always used to say to me, Denise, practice makes perfect and just soldier on. So when I lost Martin, what did I do? I wanted to be the perfect mum and friend and everything to everybody. And how did I do that? By just soldiering on. But I didn't realize that that was a subconscious belief running the show for me. One of the many. And we go, oh no, but wait, there's more.
There's always more. Or they pop
Yeah.
up even when we worked on them. They will come back out in times of,
And
stress
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I still find myself sometimes just soldiering on. I go, hang on, stop.
Yes.
But I'm aware of it now. So that's what doing the inner work on ourselves. Yes, it's about the grief. Yes, it's about the loss. But what that grief and that loss does is brings up all those emotions.
Yeah. And if you've been working on them, then you'll be able to also identify those earlier. It
Yeah.
is really hard when you're in that state, not that, that you should be doing it if you haven't worked on it yet, but it is really hard when you're already in that state of grief and mourning and just being in this position and then also tackling all those limiting beliefs and uncovering it. So the more, yeah, once again, the more we can start working on ourselves, the more we're prepared for really any situation.
And we cannot do it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
We just cannot do it on our own. We can get to a certain limit, but then we bump up against ourselves
Yeah,
because
because we
we
have
only,
limiting beliefs.
that's right. Because we only know what we know as well. We don't
Yeah.
realize a lot of those limiting beliefs are hidden beneath the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can think, well, oh, I'll go and read a book, or I'll watch YouTube video, or I'll get the information. But that's information. It's not the transformation.
Mm.
We need somebody to pull us through that, to actually take a helicopter view and go, okay, this is where you're at. Do you realize you're doing X, Y, Z? Where did that come from? And then to start going down into that.
Yeah. And that just
No,
brings me to how do you find the right people? Because, like, most people will turn to therapy, and maybe for some that is working. But what are there things that we should be looking for? How should we know that we're in the right place? Or how do we find the right place?
well, if you've been in therapy for longer than 6 months and you're not feeling any better, and you're sort of thinking, okay, well, now maybe it's the therapist and I need a better therapist, because so many of us therapists hop thinking that it's the therapist's fault, and it's not. It's the modality. It's not the therapy, the person. It's what they're teaching, and it's what they do. As I said, therapy is great for the initial. Let's talk therapy. You talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. So if you feel stuck, that you're seeing the therapist and you're just not where you want to be, now it's time to go, okay, maybe I need to heal me. Maybe I need to do the inner work. What is next? If you're asking yourself, what is next? You're ready to start your inner journey.
Yeah, and I like that question too, because I agree, people can keep going and going and going with whatever. It could be physical therapy, it could be regular therapy, it could be talk therapy, it could be anything really. But yeah, you always need to question yourself, am I improving? Give it
Yeah.
time. But like you're right, like 6 months is plenty of time you should be making gains. And if you're not, let's change the channel and see what else is out there
What
that
else?
we can maybe look into helping. I really think that is important for
Yeah.
sure.
That what else is the best question you can ask yourself.
What else? Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. Moms listening today, what is one thing that you really want them to do? And I'm hearing it in my head already that what you might say, but I'm going to let you say it anyway.
So moms listening to this today, whether you've lost a child or you haven't, or maybe you know somebody that has, is to give yourself permission to go down. Give yourself the permission to feel and to put yourself first. It's okay to go down that rabbit hole. It's okay to scream. It's okay to cry. It's okay. And you don't have to do it when your kids and your husband and everybody's there. Do it in I used to sit in my walking robe because that was where I felt safe. It was dark. I had all my clothes in there. I didn't see anybody. It was basically soundproof, and I could scream and I could cry. But it's so important to do.
Yes, yeah. Now, where can the listeners find you?
So online at flowgriefacademy.com. I've got all my links there that how you can get hold of me and book a call with me. I also offer a free 45 minutes, sometimes it's 60 minutes, sometimes it's longer, discovery call to see where you're at in your journey. And because I know that a lot of ladies want to help others as well now. They've got to the stage where they go, well, I want to help other mothers, I want to help other widows. And that's really important as well, because when you become a flow grief release practitioner, you've got all the tools that we spoke about today. You've healed yourself. So your journey along the way is to also heal yourself. So you're healing yourself while you're going through the program, plus you're now getting the skills and the accreditation to help others. So you're getting the method.
Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful. I love it's just a gift that keeps giving. So I love
Yes.
that.
And the world since COVID is grieving, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
The world is grieving, and there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of grief. And my absolute calling and just, let's lift the world up, let's create. And who's better to do it than women? We are the nurturers. We know how to lift people up.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, for your knowledge, for your method, and that's kind of reaching the world through who you're training and all the people that you're helping. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing.
You're so welcome, and thank you so much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It was so nice to meet Denise and learn more about her flow method. If you need more resources around grief, please visit her website. The links are in the show notes. And just like Denise said, we need to love ourselves. And let's start by putting ourselves at the top of our to-do list. Come join us next Tuesday where we'll have another incredible episode with another incredible mom.